Hello. I used to regularly make YouTube videos and haven't so much the last year or two. This last year or two I've been writing rather more. Not my favourite kind of writing, which is poetry, but I've been writing a novel, which I've had a break from for the last 6 months or so. I put up a website. It's called The Conquest of Dough, and that website has various source material which I've researched for over 2 years, which coincides pretty much with when I stopped making many YouTube videos. The YouTube videos which I mainly made were practicing playing the guitar, which I spent 5 years sort of seriously studying guitar, playing and music, and decided I wanted to get back to some of my other sort of academic studies to do with political economy. Anyway, I put together various poems into a book which I called Philosophy. I did that, must have been about a year ago, I guess, probably longer. And I sent that book to a friend of mine called David Malone. David's a filmmaker. He made some of the memorable Horizon series of documentaries for the BBC, Icon Earth, for instance. His most recent documentary is one called Why Are We Here, which is a wonderful documentary, and you'll find links to it on my blog and the Gollum X1V blog, which is David's blog. Anyway, David kindly agreed to write something about my poetry book, and I'm open on that page now on my blog. My first and lasting reaction to your poems was wonderful. Here is a poet who can engage with the pressing and vital concerns of our times, as did Blake in his time, while others were still trilling away about rural idyls and flute-playing shepherds. Blake took those forms and images and confronted the brutalities of his age with an art renewed in his own way. Roger is doing the same. Well, it is in my own way, I guess, and I really do like Blake, but you know, liking someone, I mean, they're in the you know, relationship with me and that great sort of poet, part company. Anyway, one of the shaping ideas that I came across through studying philosophy and discussing philosophy was the idea of the grey space between a piece of art, a piece of writing, and the viewer or reader or listener, whereby the expressed idea is married up with the perception of the beholder. The tableau, as was Duchamp's, so the viewer makes the picture. And so in this blog here, there's this introduction to the publication of the Pope's essay on man, and it's by Henry Morley, who was a very active publisher, published various interesting books, but this is what he had to say about reading Pope. The reader of Pope, as of every author, is advised to begin by letting him say what he has to say, in his own manner, to an open mind that seeks only to receive the impressions which the writer wishes to convey. First, let the mind and spirit of the writer come into free, full contact with the mind and spirit of the reader, whose attitude at the first reading should be simply receptive. Such reading is the condition precedent to all true judgment of a writer's work. All criticism that is not so grounded spreads as fog over a poet's page. Read, reader, for yourself without once pausing to remember what you have been told to think. I mean, that really struck me, and I'd forgotten where I read that for a year or two, and then I happily found it again, and I kind of tried to recall it and quote it, but that really points to the grey space that Duchamp puts forward. So then this blog goes on to the idea of reflection, and Alexander Pope also said this, remembrance and reflection, how allied, what thin partition divides sense from thought. So that then led me on to a blog which I did a little while back. Here we are, August 2016, which is remembering Judd Evans. Now, Judd died back in 2013, and a number of people on the philosophy group on LinkedIn, which I used to participate in, were quite sad because Judd's website had been taken down by the web hosting company, and happily refound it through the Wayback Machine. So I thought I'd read this blog from August 9th, 2016, which will round off with a poem which I wrote at that time, and which I would have liked to have shared and talked to Judd about. And this blog actually has a very moving piece of writing, which Judd recalls a memory with his first wife, who died of cancer. He remarried later, so anyway, I'll read this blog. So, Goering the organ grinder and Heidegger the monkey. Judd Evans cartoon here. So here you can see Heidegger the philosopher, sort of on a leash of a chain, with Hermann Goering sort of dragging on along. Now that's a comment on Heidegger's continuing to be active in academia during the Nazi period. So this post is about rediscovering old sources, a thing called the Web Archive. I was delighted to have it recommended regarding a site which used to make me laugh, a satire site on capitalism and the necessity for debt in modern political economy. The site was called the Melt Fund, and the site now is again sort of resurrected. Here it is. Maybe it will make you laugh, or perhaps, like others, it will make you angry. And so if I click on this link here, that links up then to the Melt Fund, and here is the Melt Fund, which isn't available on the web apart from through the Wayback Machine now. And I'm going to read that and click on the link at your own pleasure. It's very, very funny. I find it funny anyway. So, other ghosts of Christmas past are some long lost business websites, one in particular which I was very proud of at the time, and still am in fact. Rarely do we have the chance to look back and see where we did something ahead of its time, and I genuinely believe the east14.com project, in its conception and also its execution, was ahead of its time. The website is still remarkably fresh. Well, see for yourself, and then a couple of links. Well, there's a link there to that. From the career side of things, here's my old consultancy firm website from 2000, and from my brief life as Lord of the Manor, of passing interest. That's where I used to live in England. But the jewel of this newfound time machine is the discovery of the collective philosophical reference source and various formal and informal writing of the great eliminativist philosopher and linguist Judd Evans. Judd and I were correspondents by email and interlocutors here on LinkedIn in the now defunct philosophy group. I post this on my LinkedIn page. When Judd died in 2013, I made 2 blog posts in his memory. Both are updated in my blog here, and 2 links in memoriam to Judd and posthumous guest posts from Judd, which is a discourse and dialogue regarding Judd's commitment to the eliminativist ideals. Judd used to refer to, he used to call it his mentor and teacher. I had, for him, sentimental and irrational views on things like consciousness, but it didn't get in the way of enjoying each other's ideas. So Judd, I thought had gone, but on discovering the eternal archive of Evans' experientialism, he tells me he and his first wife are still sitting on a bench halfway up 4,000 steps in Minori, Amalfi. And then this is a beautiful passage from the full essay that Judd wrote here. So this is Judd from Judd's website. In the early afternoon, halfway down, close to a wayside religious shrine, we came across a seat for weary travellers. Gratefully we stopped for refreshment. Quietly we sat together, eating our meal of sandwiches, delicious tomatoes and green olives. We flushed it down with dark red country wine. The fragrance of the herbs and wild flowers which surrounded us was an overpowering and heady mix. Sitting closely together, my arm around her thin shoulders, we gazed out at the stupendous views of the sea and the coast, which spread out below us in both directions. We could see the ribbon of the coastal road that winds its way between Sorrento and Salerno in the distance. Those moments were in the sun, were electric. They were charged with a rare and special potency. We were caught in an immortal continuum. It was as if time had stopped and snared us in continuum of experience. I was enwrapped with my lovely wife in an ever-redeemable present. We'll never leave that place. Time has suspended us there, together in an immortal duality. Perhaps one day you'll tread that path down to Minori. You may chance upon that traveller's bench. You'll see us sitting there together, as we always are and as we always will be, gazing silently out to sea. There we'll remain always, until the warm winds and gentle Mediterranean rains have completed their work of erosion, and Ravello and the mountain are no more. Judd, amongst other things, I've been happily reading, as if talking directly with an old friend. We did speak on Skype once or twice, strangely, but about web proxies for some purpose I do not recall. But he recommends this, his favourite poem by T.S. Eliot. And this is the poem Burnt Norton by T.S. Eliot. Time present and time past are both perhaps present in time future, and time future contained in time past. If all time is eternally present, all time is unredeemable. What might have been is an abstraction, remaining a perpetual possibility, only in a world of speculation. What might have been and what has been point to one end, which is always present. Footfalls echo in the memory, down the passage which we did not take, towards the door we never opened, into the rose garden. My words echoed thus in your mind, but to what purpose? Disturbing the dust on a bowl of rose leaves, I do not know. Other echoes inhabit the garden. Shall we follow? The present moment, 1960. This is now again off Judd's website, and Judd writing about experiences as a young man. It is by no means as easy as it may look to live in the immediate present. It requires a high degree of awareness of oneself. The less I am conscious of myself as the one who's in charge, the more unfree and automatic I am, the less I am aware of the immediate present. I remember when I worked in a telecommunications factory, labouring on an extremely boring, repetitive task. I was so alienated, it was as if I were someone else. I felt as if I was a million miles away from what I was doing. I was in a daze, or as though in a dream. The job was so simple that a monkey could have done it. It required no amount of concentration at all. It was as if there was a wall between the present and me. It is often useful, I find, to ask myself, what am I experiencing at this very moment? Or where am I? What is most significant to me at this present moment? I'll tell you what has sparked off this musing about that slippery eel-like state of the present. I've been rereading my favourite poem of all time, Burnt Norton, from the Four Quartets by T.S. Eliot. For me, the poem evokes my youth, when I was stumbling towards some kind of spiritual awareness of what it is like to be a thinking human being. Although written by an American, a very cultured, anglicised American, from that most English of American states, Massachusetts, it is quintessentially an English poem. The poem deals with the problem of time, trying to pin down the unpin-downable, a neologism newly coined at this precise moment in the present. Judd Evans, The Present Moment, 1960. I wish Judd was still around to make suggestions and comments on my latest poetry. He was a mentor, a teacher, and a friend. And I'd written this poem at the time called Tides of the Dollar Moon, which deals with these themes and also uses the metaphor of the sun and the moon and the earth for a monetary concept called bimetallism, which is a gold standard with multi-silver. So, Tides of the Dollar Moon. A planet to its star must look. The planet no less needs its moon. As the sun is the store of energy, new, the moon drives and regulates currents of the tides, time, and the nature of things. That golden orb gives all, that silvery moon regulates all. Both work together, even as the other seemingly sleeps, and yet currents of the tides, time, and the nature of things pass. On the nature of man-made things, on a standard of gold which Jennings would not be crucified upon, that cross of gold alone, hard food of Midas, no tides to complement the orb. For silver was its currency, the silvery moon to that cross's golden sun, which means of exchange fed the common man. The silver moon drives and regulates currencies of the tides, time, and the nature of things. Time passed, and man forsakes the golden orb and its silvery moon. No credit he gave to drivers of tides, time, and the nature of things. Fiat of imperial rule enforces debts, new tides in political economy. Fiat ethers of debt above and astride the law. No silvery moon complementary to the golden orb. There are no tides by means of which the common man may be fed. Hard food of Midas alone, starvation. King Canute, like those ephors, wave, bidding the advancing tide backwards. Still they advance, tides in a tsunami of debt, tides of a dollar moon by fiat, hegemonic tides of the dollar moon.